Hi guys, I'm Megan.
And I'm Wendy.
And today we're tackling some viewer-submitted mom dilemmas.
Okay, here's our first one, and I'm going to read it. Hi Megan, saw your post and I have a mom dilemma. Do you guys have any tips on how to deal with super competitive siblings? Everything has to be even. They are uber competitive at games, sports, you name it. Would love any tips or tricks you guys have. Love the videos.
So nice.
First of all, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, when I had this question come in, I was both thrilled that one had been submitted and so sad because we are dealing with this in our house and real easy for me to give advice for how other people should handle it.
Sure. I'm just going to listen because I'm a mom of an only child, so we don't have this problem in our house.
Yeah, and that is one way in which I envy you greatly.
Oh.
I mean, my kids love each other, but so my kids are 4 and 7. I have a boy and a girl, and I know this particular, her kids are either 5 and 7 or 4 and 7, but they're similar in age to my kids, and they're both boys, which I think ups the competition factor. But there's definitely that, like, in our house, there is this constant battle for things to be fair, and I want to shut that down. I sat down with my older son. He had to go with me. He had a day off school, and my daughter had gymnastics during that time, and he had to go sit there for an hour, and it was one of the great injustices of his life that he had to sit there for an hour while she was having something that was about her. And, you know, in my mind, I'm doing this mental math. I'm like, she has sat at hours and hours and hours of soccer and t-ball and this. So he was melting down. And I was like, okay, there's other parents around. You need to handle this well, right? So I, in my calmest, nicest mom voice, I explained to him, in a family, you cannot spend your day expecting the day to be fair. And I know this is something we're going to have to keep reiterating. I do not think like I got through to him on this one day, but I think this is an important thing to communicate to your kids. If at the end of the day you're keeping a tally sheet expecting it all to even out, it's not going to. And let's accept that right now.
That's a life lesson. That's not just
totally
a
life lesson. Yeah, I mean, I have days I'm like, this is not fair.
Right.
But I said, you know, some days are going to be about your sister, and we're going to be doing things that have to do with her, and some days are going to be about you, and some days are going to be more about you than the other, and some days you're both going to get to do fun things, and we really work hard to make sure you both get to do fun things, but I'm not going to spend my time, okay, she had an hour of a fun thing, now you get an hour. It evens out in the end. Like, I do keep that in the back of my mind, but I'm not keeping a score sheet. And I really tried to communicate, like, this is a family, we support each other. And the mom, he got up to go do something after I had my, big moment. And the mom in front of me turned around, she's like, that was really good.
Ooh.
And I was so proud of myself. But, it did not stop him from whining.
Yeah.
I mean, I did end up throwing my phone at him at the end of that.
Jesus.
But I do think having that conversation, like, we're in a family, we support each other, fair. I really try not to use, like, the flip, life isn't fair. I mean, it isn't. Life is not fair, but I'm really trying to give them the explanation about why.
I think it's important that you explain it to them. Like,
yeah.
Just saying life isn't fair.
It's annoying. I don't want to hear it.
Right, but a 7-year-old does not have those concepts to, like, understand, or does not have the whatever to
life
understand
experience.
that. Yeah. Speaking of, like, keeping score, how about, like, competitiveness when, like, they're playing games or playing at home together, or do they have any problems with each other?
All day long. And it's like, I wanted to be blue. I wanted to go first. And the refereeing of that. So one thing I was thinking about that I would like to implement is we still use sticker chart behavior charts in our house for, like, whatever we're working on. And right now it's for good listening. But a shared behavior chart where they can be working toward, like, a common goal. So on that particular chart, for when they're supporting each other, when they're working well together, when they're playing well together, they can earn points towards some desirable activity or prize.
That they have to do together.
Yeah. Just kidding. Like a movie night or going out to dessert or something that they want, something that's valuable to them.
I love that idea because it doesn't reward the individual. Yes. It rewards them as a team or them working together or them I like that a lot. I think that's a great idea.
And one thing I try and do to give them like opportunities for this is bribery. And like if the playroom's a mess, and my daughter's the messy one, she's just like me. If there's a mess, she made it. But if the playroom's a mess, she'll fall to pieces if she thinks she has to do it. So I'll say, if you guys can get the playroom cleaned up in 5 minutes, we can do X. Then my son will get in there and help her. And in that way, I realize it is kind of bribing him. But at the same time, it gives him an opportunity to work cooperatively with her and for me to praise that behavior so he can see, like, look how easy this was. It took me 3 minutes. We got the playroom cleaned up. There's a benefit. Mom's happy with me. Like, my kids love praise from me. Like, that was awesome. I'm so proud of you for supporting your sister.
I wonder if that, in turn, do you think he would say to his little sister, like, eventually down the line, like, hey, help me out, let's do this together, and then we both be rewarded or praised for our
Well, and
work.
when he starts doing it, she'll help. I mean, if you tell her she has to pick up a mess, it is the end of the world. But having her brother like, let's do it really quick, that really motivates her. So that's an opportunity for them to be praised and rewarded together. And I think this is just an ongoing battle. There's not like a quick switch to flip. I think sibling rivalry obviously is something that exists all over the place.
Even as adults?
Yes. In my family, yes.
Okay. Our second question. My mother-in-law drowns the baby in gifts at every visit, and my mom doesn't. I want to say something to even it out before she's old enough to notice, but what and how?
This might not be popular. I feel really strongly that dictating how people give gifts is a sticky situation.
I totally disagree.
Okay.
And that's okay, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, look, we're not professionals. We're just like, this is just like chatting with your friends. What would you do?
Yeah.
I think when there's a new grandchild, like grandparents show their love with presents. They don't get to see these kids every day. And then in this particular case, she mentioned that she and each of the grandparents live in 3 different states. So it's not a regular visit. So grandparents giving gifts, it's like this tangible reminder of their love when they can't be there.
Okay.
And so if you consider it like an extension of their love, which maybe isn't necessarily the way it should be, but is how it is, then I think it becomes really sticky when we say we want to put limits on that. Now, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't give gifts that are in line with your values. If you have a no gun toy, if you don't want video games, if whatever it is, I think they should respect that.
I agree with that.
But on the number, and believe me, my kids have been drowned in gifts and I have been overwhelmed by it. But we have not ever approached that with our grandparents. Maybe because I'm a big weenie.
So I think it's totally okay to tell the grandparents, like, slow down a little bit, put a little limit on it. In this particular case, I would have your husband speak to his parents or mother about it, just so it's not taken the wrong way. Because my worry and fear is that your child will learn to expect a gift every time they see them or on every occasion.
Okay, but if it's, I get that fear. And I think is that a bigger issue if they're local? Because if they see them twice a year and they bring gifts, is that a problem?
It's a bigger issue if they're local. If they're far away, yes. Oh, and you're right. They did say that they were out of state. Then no. Like, I think that's totally okay that if they see them twice a year and they bring gifts those twice a year, fine. But if we're talking like at Christmas time and gifts are, let's say this scenario, gifts are mailed from grandparents A and grandparents B, and grandparents A gave 10 gifts and grandparents B gave 5 gifts. I'm not trying to make this a math equation, I swear. But, I think there's something to, like, the child may go, well, grandpa gave me more presents than this other grandparent. I worry a little bit about that, but
I think the big question is your concern that she's being drowned in gifts and it's too much? Because I get that. I mean, by the time Christmas morning comes around here, my kids have gotten gifts from so many family members that I kind of feel like the stuff we give them is like, I mean, they're still excited, but I think it loses its luster a little bit. So
yeah.
If that's your concern, A, or if the concern is, because she says before she's old enough to notice. So is the concern that someday she's going to do what you said? Oh, I got all these over here and not very many over here. If your concern is that she's drowning in gifts, then I think absolutely say, God, it's so overwhelming on her birthday and holidays when she's getting all this stuff.
I think it's okay to have that conversation. Yeah, like that. Just say it's a little bit overwhelming and like...
You know, and 1 or 2 special presents from you that she can really associate with you and that means something to her. Now, if the question is she going to someday notice and go, why does this parent do this and why does this parent do that, grandparent? I kind of think it's okay in life, birthdays, and as things go on, people are not going to give gifts on the same level.
Oh, sure.
And so I kind of think it's okay to have the conversation, well, every family's different. Everybody gives gifts.
That's a good
differently.
idea. Everybody, you know, every family is different. Everybody gives gifts differently.
Because even if you have the conversation, it could still end up being, there's going to come a time where your kids might notice. And I think it's totally fine to say, you know, everybody gives gifts differently. You know, every family does things differently. There's going to come a time when she's in school and she's going to be like, you know what? Susie told me she gets 75 presents on Christmas morning. And you're like, every family does it differently.
Do you have the conversation with your child when she or he is old enough to say, like, presents do not equate love? Like, and I know we talked earlier just a few minutes ago that, like, presents sometimes are an extension of love from grandparents. But
like, the accumulated value of all these gifts is not equal to how much somebody loves you.
Yeah. And I think that's a conversation you have when your child's a little bit older. It's not for a toddler, obviously, but I think it's a life lesson to learn that anyway.
So the key here is, if you say something to your mother-in-law, it needs to be your husband. I feel like that is the case in all in-law situations. Yes. If there's a sticky situation, the child of the parent with whom the situation is the one who has the conversation.
Agree.
And then, you know, figure out where your issue lies with this and go from there.
Yep.
Do you think that was helpful?
I hope so.
Okay, guys, we love that you're sending in questions. It is so fun. I think we're going to do this monthly. So if you have a mom dilemma, a question you want us to tackle bumblingly, please leave it in the comments, and we'd love to answer it in a future episode.
Or you can email us at meganandwendy@gmail.com.
Thanks for watching, you guys. Please subscribe to our channel so you can see when we upload a new video. Videos go up Monday and Friday mornings. And give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, please.
Bye.
Bye.